This is a presentation for the Winnipeg Philatelic Society, Western Canada's oldest stamp club, and it's a follow-up to my previous presentation on Too Many Machins, so I call it Too Many Machins Redux. Now there are many different varieties of Machins, and I showed some of them in my previous presentation, but here are some more that have come up. And what has happened is the Royal Mail has decided to put barcodes on the Machin stamps. And it's more of a QR code than a barcode. But nevertheless, there is the first one, March the 23rd, 2021, a second-class letter stamp. And you will see it has security slits and elliptical perforations, and it has a fake elliptical perforation kind of in the middle there. It looks like there are perforations between the stamp and the barcode, but there are not. It's all a single piece of paper and a single stamp. Now it's actually bigger than the previous Machin, and here is what I would call the normal Machin, the sort of the normal size Machin, and there were several different sizes of Machins, but that's kind of the standard size. And you will see the new one is a fair bit bigger. And as I said, elliptical pit, perf, security slits, and security backprint. You cannot see the security backprint in this scan, but it's there on that stamp, on both the stamps actually. In November the 2nd, 2021, they issued 4 Christmas stamps with barcodes, second class, first class, and first and second class large for both. This is an image from the Royal Mail, so you see that this is it's not an actual scan of the stamp, it's a sort of a fake image, and you will see they have printed perforations surrounding it. On the real stamp, they are die-cut perfs, as you would expect. Now the other thing that I found out, and I was kind of surprised, all the barcodes are different. And it's like the letters in the corners of the penny black. And for those of you that will recall, the penny black had letters in the top 2 corners, and they indicated where the stamp was on the sheet. It carried on through the penny red, and by the time we got to the penny red, there were letters in all 4 corners. My understanding is it was put there to prevent forgery. And why they were concerned about forgery in 1840, when this was the first stamp in the world that had ever been printed. But my understanding is even the penny black was forged. And so precautions against forgery started with the very first stamp. Now for the barcode or the QR code, there are lots of combinations. If I've counted right, it's 16 columns by 50 rows, which is 800 different spots. I haven't quite figured out whether that's 800 times 800 combinations. I haven't quite figured out how many combinations that gives you. On February the 1st, 2002, there were 4 values issued, second and first large. And you can see again the security slits and all the various security features. They're all there. Now the post office has some problems and some issues, and this is all around the world. It's not just the Royal Mail or Canada Post. As they run the envelope through the cancelling machine, they have to orient the envelope so that the corner the stamp is in can be placed in the place where they cancel it. Now tagging was supposed to help this, but I mean I think you can imagine the letter could be upside down, backwards, sideways. It could be many different ways, and you're going to have to find a way to sort all those out, and tagging was supposed to do it. But lots of stamps, and this is not just Great Britain or Canada, all countries have stamps that are not cancelled. Now, I'm a collector of used stamps, and I am very annoyed by that. Bless me. And I observe sometimes if there's more than one stamp because somebody's making up a strange rate or using two stamps to make the rate, often one of them is not cancelled because they'll cancel the top two, but if the third one is underneath the top two, it doesn't get cancelled. Now, I'm annoyed because when I get the used stamp, if it's not cancelled, I either have to throw it out, which I will do if I've got lots of them. If I've only got one, I'm sometimes tempted to just put it in my collection as a used stamp. It doesn't have any gum in the back. Occasionally, I've thought that I'd wander down to the post office and say, "Here, please cancel all these stamps," but that's always seemed like rather too much work. Sometimes the letter carrier will do a pen cancel, and I find that annoying too because those I just have to throw away. Now, the fact that the post office can't get around to canceling all the stamps leads various sellers on eBay and elsewhere to sell batches of used but uncancelled stamps. Now, if you pretend that you're going to use those for an art project, I suppose that's okay. But if you plan to soak the stamps off of the envelopes and reuse them as postage, that's illegal everywhere. And it impresses me as rather a lot of work. When I'm soaking stamps, it takes rather a long time, and it takes up a bit of space, and you're moving stamps between buckets of water and drying them out. So to do that as a business, to have a business where you do that, then find someone to sell these stamps to who will then use them to mail letters when it's illegal, impresses me as rather too much work for rather not a lot of money. Anyway, people do it apparently. Now, the other problem the post office has is determining if you have applied sufficient postage to the letter. Now, Canada Post scans the letters and compares the stamp image to an electronic image that they have saved. The problem is they've got only so much room, computer space, to store electronic images and still have the process work fast enough. So if you get a letter with older stamps on it, someone's used 2 or 3 older stamps to make up the current rate, odds are it's just not going to be cancelled because the electronic equipment doesn't know what to do with it. So it'll either arrive uncancelled or the letter carrier may take it upon themselves to cancel it with a pen. Now, what Great Britain has done to deal with this potential fraud problem, which, and again, I'm sort of going, how could anybody make any money fraudulently producing stamps that are sold for less than £1? But anyway, they have decided to demonetize stamps. Now, the original announcement was that non-barcoded definitives and Christmas stamps, the first and the second value Christmas stamps, would be demonetized. Now, since they announced that, they have removed Christmas stamps. I assume because they've decided that Christmas stamps aren't that reused, or fraudulently used, and they've decided there's probably just not that many of them out there. But there's probably a lot of definitive stamps, Machin stamps, that are out there, and they're being demonetized. So this will include all Machin stamps and all country definitives. And you have to swap out your stamps by January the 31st, 2023. Either use them or send them back to the Royal Mail and get new barcoded definitives. Now, I thought about me, and I've got maybe 5 or 6 permanent stamps that I haven't used yet. And will I probably use them in the next 6-7 months? Sure, I'll use them to mail Christmas cards or something like that. So if this were me and I were in Great Britain, I wouldn't think this was much of a problem. But apparently UK stamp dealers have loads of Machins and country definitives that they planned on using for postage, and now they won't be able to use them all up by January 2023. And so now they're having to mail them in to the Royal Mail and get barcoded Machins back. The other problem apparently is the Royal Mail doesn't understand that there was a time that they issued half-p stamps, and so they're having a difficult time figuring out what to do when people turn half-p stamps back in. Anyway, apparently forgery is a problem, because here we go. On eBay, I found Canadian forgeries on eBay too. Didn't buy them, but here's an image I found from eBay. And the quote I heard is that there are pallet loads of forged stamps coming from China to the United Kingdom. Now, apparently the way you determine that these are forgeries is the barcode is shiny. The perfs are pointier than they should be. Now, the other thing, remember I said that the barcodes are all different? And you can see that these barcodes are identical. They're different between the purple one and the blue one, but the two purple stamps both have the same barcode. So that's a giveaway that it's a forged stamp, because the two stamps are identical, which they shouldn't be. Now, you will note the backing paper has been forged. It says Royal Mail the way it's supposed to. You will note they faked the security back print. You will note they faked the security slits. You will note they faked the elliptical perfs. They've done everything necessary to produce an almost perfect fake, other than identical barcodes. So I'm supposing if the Royal Mail eventually gets organized enough and programs their scanners, they will be able to identify this identical barcode and do something about letters that are mailed with forged stamps. So I assume that's their plan. Now, what they say their plan is to allow operational efficiency. And I suppose, remember I told you about the problems Canada Post has. This barcoding hopefully will allow much quicker orientation of the envelope, cancellation of the stamp. The Royal Mail does mention security, so I assume they're talking about forgery. And then they also say they will offer innovative features, videos, and greetings from the sender. So I suppose eventually if you're mailing someone a birthday card, you will put the birthday card in the envelope, put the stamp on the envelope, and then you will scan it, record a video or an audio of your greetings, and the recipient will then, when they get it, they will scan the stamp as well and get the greeting that you sent them, as well as the birthday card you sent them. Now, these are more images from the Royal Mail, easier than scanning. These are called the low value definitives, and you will see the low value definitives go all the way up to £1. In the good old days, if I got a stamp that was a £1 stamp, I thought it was kind of cool because they were hard to get, and I didn't think of £1 as low value, but apparently inflation, the world has changed. And you will see these again, they have the printed perfs. They are not an actual image of the stamp. They're sort of an artificial image produced by the Royal Mail. And you will see they're all on a white background, and the Queen's head is in a color. Now, the actual stamps all have die-cut perfs and elliptical perfs and security slits and all that stuff. The security slits here are printed in green because this is kind of an artificial image. And again, I said this before, the printed perf and elliptical perf separate the stamp from the barcode, but it's just one piece of paper. It's a single, much larger than usual stamp. And the backing, again, says Royal Mail over and over again. Now, on April the 4th, 2022, again, they issue 4 international tariff stamps. Now, I've kind of given up on collecting GB commemorative stamps. There are so many of them. Each set of commemorative stamps has 6, 8, or 10 stamps in it, sometimes along with a miniature sheet, almost always with a miniature sheet. And occasionally they have 10 first-class stamps, but often it's 2 second, 2 first, 2 325, 2 420, 2 255 pound stamps. So there's just a large number of varieties and a large number of values. And as for instance, the £4.20 value is to mail a world large letter. Not that many of them are around, and they're hard to find. So I've kind of given up on that. As I said before, I collect used stamps, so I really don't want to get mint stamps. That doesn't seem to be collecting, so to speak. But I figured that I would continue to collect the Machin stamps because, there's only 3 or 4 issued a year. Well, 16 Machin stamps this year and more if you count the country definitives. So here are 4 values. Now, Great Britain has way more different postal rates than just these 4. There are a lot of them, and that's why they have so many different values on the commemorative stamps they have, because they're picking a particular postal rate to pay. The 185 pound pays a letter to Europe. The 255 pound world letter up to 100 grams. 325 and 420 are Europe large and world large. And the last 2 replace a green Machin that was issued on December 23rd, 2020, and a purple Machin on the same date. So there is a £4.20 purple Machin, and there's now a £4.20 green Machin. Now, also on the same day in April 2022, they issued a £2 blue, £3 purple, and £5 green. And these are, again, like the low-value definitives. They are, the Queen's head is in blue, but on a white background. So they look exactly like the low-value definitives, but in different colors and with different values. It makes up to, I think, 16 stamps that they issued in the new barcode format. And to answer the question, are the old country definitives to be demonetized and replaced? The answer is yes, and on August the 11th, 2022, they will issue barcoded stamps for England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland, 2nd, 1st, and £1.85. So there will be, 12 stamps issued, barcoded country definitives. Now, you're probably saying, is this a complete listing of all the variations and differences in the barcoded Machins and an exhaustive description, or not? And I think we will probably find that the answer is not. We will find that these stamps will be printed by different printers, and as with the old non-barcoded Machins, we will find that we can identify which printer printed which stamp. And as I described, originally you were going to have to turn in your Christmas stamps and swap them for other barcoded Christmas stamps, and that has now been decided they're not going to do that because, I don't know, too much trouble or not enough, or not that many Christmas stamps out there. Anyway, so I hope this has been interesting and either encouraged you to collect barcoded Machins or caused you to decide, nope, I'm stopping my Machin collection at the beginning of barcoding. Anyway, thanks for listening.